All right, guys, thank you for coming to Senior Year Prep. And today I am very excited because today's topic is Ask an Old Head. Ask an Old Head. And so we do have a couple of old heads in our chat today to give you guys some stellar advice about what to do and what not to do next year. Because I tell you guys to do stuff, but y'all are sick of listening to me or you don't believe me. So I brought the receipts today, right? Brought the receipts. We got Jessica Picari, 2 C's and 1 R, she told me the other day. We got Maria Estrada Rodriguez. We got Janae Holmes and Miss Sydney Suber. So between these 4 ladies, they'll answer your questions. And I'm trying to see if we can do this again next week because there may be some other seniors that weren't available today that can come next week. All right. So I'm not going to do my usual announcements because I don't want to hog up any of the time. I'm going to just ask you guys 3 questions to get started. And then the rest of the time, you guys can go in the chat or unmute yourself and ask them anything you want to. All right. So real quick, if you guys, the 4 of you can just introduce yourselves real quick and tell them your major, where you're going to school, and anything else they should know. So we'll start with Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jess. If you guys don't know me, I am going to University of Pittsburgh main campus next year to major in psychology and possibly neuroscience.
Thank you, Maria.
Hello guys, my name is Maria. I'm gonna be attending Alvernia University and majoring in biology.
All right, Sydney.
Look, I'll even turn my camera on for you guys.
What?
I know, first time all year.
This is a good day. See, it has to rain. Does it have to rain for you to turn your camera on?
Maybe. It's nice and it smells good out here today, so I decided maybe.
Oh,
hi guys, I'm Sydney. I'm gonna go to Penn State Abington next year and then main campus after that for pre-vet and biomedical science.
All right, so you know they just put pressure on you, Janae, but you don't have to. But Janae?
My name is Janae. I'm going to Penn State main campus for journalism.
All right, so let me get a nice little picture here for Instagram because you know I'm gonna post it. All right, so these are the first 3 questions, and then after this, you guys can just put your questions in the chat and go for it. So, we've been talking a lot lately about essays. And Miss Sai, our intern, which everybody knows Miss Sai, and her last day is next Wednesday, by the way. Hint, hint. And we meet on Wednesdays. Hint, hint. So anyway, she's been helping a lot of students get started on their essays. What is your best advice on essays or your experience with essays? You can start in any order. And I know I forgot to send y'all questions ahead of time. So whoever wants to go. So let's just do this while you are thinking. If you could go back in time, if it has anything to do with your essays, what would you have done differently?
I think something common with essay writing is personally, I just like continually put it off. So I think like my best advice would be, even if you think like your like rough draft's going to be trash, just like write it. If you have one idea, just write something, and it may be trash, but at least you have something and then you can edit it.
I think something else that's important is writing about something that really matters to you because you'll be able to write more about it. Colleges really like to see your personality through it too. So just make sure when you write your essay that you're really interested in that topic.
I would definitely say that you want to start it early. I know I waited pretty late to do it. And like when you start early, you can get teachers, adults, like parents to look it over for you. And you have enough time to then go back and fix it, make it better, do whatever you need to do. hint, hint, go to Fazzini. Fazzini will always look at your papers, will always read them, will always fix them.
Maria, do you have an answer or do you want us to pass? You can always pass.
No, it's basically the same thing they said. Like, I know in the beginning, Miss Mitchell was like, do your essay. And like I did start my essay, like the first like brainstorming it, and that really helped me because I didn't have to rush it and the deadline was always like coming up. So I didn't really have to rush that much. And I did get help from my English teachers. They're always available to help if you guys need help editing it or like coming up with ideas or anything. Like, just reach out to someone.
All right. So do you guys have any questions for these ladies regarding essays? Any of you guys in the audience, even though everybody's in the audience, but you know what I mean.
Who are your top 3 people that you go to or that you would think about going to revise your papers?
Oh, Alondra, that was a great question.
So for me, I would say not Miss Mitchell because she has too many essays to write. But Miss Sai, you can go to her, but she won't be here next year, I believe. If not, you can always go to any of your reading teachers. I know I went to Miss Colleton and Miss McGuire.
And for the record, you guys can ask me to do your essays. It's just that Miss Sai is here. So, and also we do have a lady who's going to be coming on, Miss I forgot to invite her. Miss Welsh, who's been popping into some of our sessions. She now has all her clearances in, so she's going to volunteer sometime this summer too.
For me, there was this program Villanova was running where professors would actually read your essays and like edit it. So I reached out to them and I was able to get my essay edited by some of the professors at Villanova. So I think look out for programs like that. That really helped me out because once I had them edited, I was pretty much set.
And Janae, if I'm not mistaken, that was something that was free that was advertised in our email and on Instagram, right? So you guys have to make sure you pay attention because the lady just she just said, I just want to help. And I'm sure she charges people a lot of money to edit those essays. So I'm glad I see somebody took advantage of that.
Yeah, my answer is just similar to Maria's. Miss Sai was super helpful. And then I also asked Miss McGuire just because I know her like really well the past 4 years. So I feel like not only getting someone who's good at revising essays, but also someone who knows you pretty well to like not only help with the grammatical aspect, but then they can help with like, you should include this detail of your life. I didn't see it in any of your essays, and colleges, would think it's important to have that there.
I definitely agree with that. You want to go with somebody who knows you well enough that they're not going to try to make you feel better about like a trash essay. You want somebody that's actually going to sit down and help you. Like Mr. Fazzini, he will tell you brutally, honestly, like, no, that's bad. Take it out. Fix this. Put that in. Or like other people, like for me, my top 3 were like Faz, Mr. Denano, because Mr. Denano, like, especially for any of the kids that are in gifted, like, for the most part, he's been there with you the whole 4 years at this point, or 3 for you guys, and he knows way too much about all of us, so he can literally help you through anything. And then I guess just like your parents, because they know you from that kind of personal level as well.
Hi, and I hate to put Miss Welsh on the spot, but she literally just popped in here. Miss Welsh, do you do essay editing?
Yes, I can do essay editing.
So Miss Welsh, who just popped in here, she's been trying to volunteer with us since January. It's been a whole bunch of stuff going on, but she finally got approved to work with us. So we're gonna be chatting either today or tomorrow about some options that you guys have to get help with your essays, your college list, and some other stuff. So there will be help over the summer for that.
Great. You're on mute.
Yep, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions about essays before we move on to the next question? All right, you can save it for later. All right. When do you guys think is the best time to submit applications?
Early as possible. I know when Ms. Mitchell was stressing it in the beginning of the school year, I started right away, and I was pretty much done all of my applications by November 1st. I had everything ready, and even if I found a college later on that I was interested in, I already knew what to do. So the application process was just that much faster. So the timeline I would say is start sometime in November. No, sorry, September, and have it done by November at the latest.
Yeah, I remember when Miss Mitchell, like her main thing on like Instagram was like, have all your applications done by Thanksgiving. And it was like October, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna have all mine done by Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be good. And then there I'm sitting on New Year's Eve, like typing furiously on my computer, trying to get it in on time. So yeah, definitely as early as possible. Because then if you have a little, especially if it's rolling admissions, you want it to be as early as possible because their spots might fill up. And then some schools have early action as an option, which increases your chances of getting in. So you want to try and meet those deadlines, which are always earlier. And then still, if it's regular decision, just having that burden off your back if you get it done earlier is so nice.
I mean, like for me, I started over summer, like just brainstorming where I wanted to go and like what major I wanted to pursue because I was lost in my junior year. I was like unsure where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. So I was in Upward Bound, and through there, Miss Mitchell would tell me, start brainstorming. Like, do you like modern look of universities or like small town, big city? So that has to go into effect whenever you're making your decision. So I would say start maybe the summer, like just thinking what type of college you want to go to. And that way you won't be pressured when the Thanksgiving deadline comes.
I'm not even gonna lie to you guys and say that I started early because I did not, but at least Miss Mitchell, don't look at me like that. I didn't start early, but what you start to realize is that the faster you get that stuff in, the faster you're gonna get that response back. So whether you're in or you're out or what's gonna happen with that, and like me personally, because I used Common App to do a lot of my applications, I would definitely say as soon as you're able to figure out how Common App works, start to put in the information. You don't have to start applying to everything so soon, but if you at least have all your information in, then after that, it's like maybe one or two essays here or there that are just special to a university that you don't really have to worry about for every single different application.
So do you guys have any questions about comments or questions about that before we move on to the next question? Because they gave y'all some stellar advice. So while you guys are thinking of some questions, they said something that reminded me of another question that's actually not on my sheet. What do you ladies think about a lot of people do brand name shopping, right? You know, they get caught up and I want to apply to this school. I want to apply to that school. Or people apply to places just to see if they can get in and they have no intentions of going. It's kind of like stroking your ego, you know, to get in. So what are your thoughts about that, and or like how many applications do you think is manageable? Because I see some people, and I don't know, I forgot what your list looked like, but some people's lists are too long, like 20, 25 schools on them, right? So guys, again, give your best advice on, you know, what the range of number of applications should be, and, you know, how they should be putting that list together as far as names and stuff like that.
Well, the way I organized my list, it's mostly by interest. I did it by how much tuition was just about for each school. And then I also did location as well. So overall, I think I applied to 9 schools. Yeah, 9 schools. And I'm not going to lie, I did do some brand name shopping. Don't waste your time doing that. If you're not interested in going there, do not apply. You're only wasting your time and your efforts. And sometimes when you get a no, then you feel sad about it because you feel like, well, I should have gotten into that school. Why didn't I get into it? If you're not interested, don't apply to it. And definitely do not overdo it with the schools as well. If you want to go there, apply. If you're like, and you want to know more about it, learn more about it first and then apply.
So I would say 10 or 11, 12-ish, not past 12, because when you apply, you kind of forget that you applied, and then you're like, oh, I applied there, and I got accepted. But yeah, around 10, 12 is manageable. That way you don't have to be turning in your FAFSA for every school. I know I got accepted to like 11 schools, but I had my top 5 and then my top 3 that I went to visit.
I only applied to 8 schools, which I couldn't imagine doing anymore because, like I said, I was all the way up to like the buzzer on the day it was due. But I definitely agree with Maria. I feel like you can definitely go up to 10 to 12. I think you don't want to be doing schools that require like multiple essays specific to that school for 10 to 12 schools. If you want to like apply to that many, I would definitely suggest the instant decision days Miss Mitchell does, because then you can get an answer right away. Because if you separately apply to every school, like Maria said, you wait, you might forget you applied there, and you have to make an account with every single school. So I have like lists of like all the passwords, and it's hard to keep track of it, even for me with just 8 schools. So yeah, I feel like somewhere in that range of like 8 to 10 to 12 is good, but only apply there if you think there's actually a chance of you going there. If there's no chance of you going there, there's no point in applying. Or if yeah, I forgot my passwords too. Or if you kind of like a school, but there's a school you already applied to that you know you like better, there's no point in applying to the second school because you'd still choose the school you already applied to over them.
I applied to like around 7 schools, and the way that I like did it in my head for myself was that I applied to a couple safety schools that I knew no matter what, like I was going to get into, and Naviance really helped like looking at who from our school has already been able to get in there, like numbers wise, and just how achievable that is. And then I think I had like maybe like one reach school, and the rest were just kind of like I'll probably get in. And like you gotta study all these different schools that you're looking into, make sure that it's actually what you want, because like everybody else has been saying, there's no reason to really apply to these places if at the end of the day they don't have what you want, or it's like way out of your price range or anything like that.
And I think that Jessica said something very important, and that's the main thing that I've been dealing with seniors the last 2 weeks is, again, a lot of people, it's nothing so much wrong with brand name shopping is when people are just applying to a school just to see if they can get in. Because like they said, you're wasting a lot of time doing that. And if you can't see yourself going to that school, then don't put it on your list as a backup. A backup is exactly what it is. It's a backup, right? So you don't want to waste your time. So this is my last question, and you guys can ask all your random questions. What do you guys think were your biggest time wasters? Whether it was you wasting your own time or just something that you kind of figured out to do differently so that you can better utilize your time. Whether it's with applications or with school or anything. So while they're thinking of that, because I didn't tell them that ahead of time, why don't you guys start popping questions in the chat? Then they can kind of think about that and write that down. That was a deep question. So what are your questions? You can type them in the chat or you can ask them. Okay, so somebody said, what drew you to the school that you chose? Good question.
For me personally, Pitt was actually like the last school on my list of schools that I was applying to. And I honestly, I made my decision on Friday last week. So I really took every second to make the decision. But I think it was a combination of I didn't get into some of the schools I wanted to get into, which was really a blessing in disguise. But I think what really drew me to Pitt was that they have a really good psychology program, which is what I want to do. They're really good at health sciences, if you're into anything like that. They were offering me a lot of money, and they were offering me a guaranteed spot in their graduate school, which, newsflash, there's a bunch of majors that I didn't really know this until late this year. Like psychology, if you only get a bachelor's degree, you're really not guaranteed to get a good job in that field. You should either get a master's or a doctorate, and that costs a lot of money and a lot of time. So by going to Pitt, I'm saving money and I'm saving having to apply to grad schools if I want to go to the grad school. And I'm saving time because they're going to take some of my AP credits, which I highly recommend AP exams. Because if you do it well in them, you can graduate like half a year or a year early. And for me, that's really helpful because I'm probably going to have to go to grad school. So that's a long-winded answer about why I love Pitt.
She just reminded me of something. Also, for your major, look to see if they require you to take a minor. When I was looking into NYU, for journalism, you had to take a minor, and I just learned for Penn State that I also have to take a minor, which I don't mind, but that's also something that I did not know, and definitely not all schools require. What drove me to Penn State? I think it was at the end of the day, I think it was the amount of tuition. It was the cheapest out of all of them, but also I was doing some research on like some students that go there, watching their YouTube videos, and I really just kind of like the feel that I got and the unity that I felt from that school, and that's something I really wanted for myself.
So for me, it was also the tuition, but then at the end, I went to tour it, and I really, really liked the atmosphere of the school. Like, it's a kind of small school, but it felt like everyone there could be like a family. So I kind of pictured myself there, and I saw that maybe I could succeed for the next 4 years. And it just made me feel like I should go to it.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely like the tuition that was the deciding factor. And something that I didn't know, but found out through visiting these colleges and like talking to the advisors and all that, is that some of these colleges specifically have certain scholarships for the people that they are admitting or people that have applied. Like, I know I applied up at Del Val, and they included in my financial aid package were lists of scholarships, and they had already applied some scholarships that applied to me personally just through what they found on my application and kind of what they saw. So I would always say, like, if tuition is going to be like a big problem for you, definitely look at those schools. A lot of them have like their own scholarship pages on their websites, and see if you can apply to some of those to kind of knock down the price and help you figure stuff out a little bit more.
Okay. The next question was, what was your biggest struggle throughout your college process? How did you overcome it? So that was in the chat. What was your biggest struggle throughout your college process, and how did you overcome it? Great question, by the way.
I think for me, it was more towards the end after I was already admitted. It was just coming down to where do I see myself for the next 4 years. It took a lot of researching for me to feel comfortable in my choice because I was so worried about whether or not I was making the right choice and worrying about, well, which friend is going here, which friend is going there. At the end of the day, you really just need to worry about yourself and just growing as a person in the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think if there's one takeaway from this, do not go to a school just because your boyfriend or girlfriend or even your friends going there. You will regret it. Like that's definitely a big no-no because you'll make new friends in college no matter what. And if you break up with someone, then that just makes college so much miserable. But I would say my biggest struggle was at the beginning and at the end. Like Janae's saying, trying to choose between the schools. But then at the beginning, because I sat here this time my junior year, and I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I didn't know what I wanted to be in the US. I didn't know how big I wanted my school to be. So I just felt really lost. And I would say the best way to overcome that is to just start touring. Look at some of the local schools because we're so blessed. We have so many great schools in PA that you can get in-state tuition for. And then we have a bunch of other great schools just in the Northeast. So just start looking around and then think about what you're interested in. I always thought I had to be into either like math or English or history or science because that's kind of what we've grown up with. But you could do business, architecture, psychology. Like there's so many things to just kind of figure out what interests you the most and then what schools in our area have that for you. And then maybe you want to get far away. So, look at other places. But just kind of combine those factors together to kind of guide yourself.
I would say my what was it? 1 second. My biggest struggle was that I thought I had like all the time in the world to make my decision, which I really didn't. And I was rushing. Well, I had already completed my essay, but I was rushing on making my decision on where I wanted to go. And one of my biggest regrets is not touring every school that I wanted to go to because I felt like I was lost and I didn't really get the atmosphere of the school. So I would definitely advise to tour your school.
All right. The next question in the chat is, oh, were you going to say something, Sydney?
Yeah, it got so loud that I had to wait until all the cars passed and everything. But I would definitely say at least kind of take it down to what you like. Look at all the schools from like a basic list. Like I think I forget who told me to do this, but it was awesome advice. Like look at all the schools that you applied to and kind of list out before you even go into their pages, before you even look at what they're doing. List out what you want in a school, and then on top of that, then go into these schools and see if they match what you originally listed without even looking at them. And that's kind of how like I worked my way out of the big mess that I was stuck in, was because I was like, this school's great, but this school's great. Oh, I love this one. Oh, I love this one. So like when you get it down to those maybe final 3, final 2, then you go on those tours and then you kind of feel around, you see what you like, what you don't like, and then boom, there's your decision.
All right. And before I go on to the next question in the comment, it looks like Miss Sai left. So that's great. We're going to have a surprise party for her next Wednesday at 1:30 in here. So make sure that you guys write together 2 or 3 sentences that you want to give to her an appreciation to drop in the chat, because then I can save the chat and make sure that she gets that. All right. Next Wednesday, 1:30. All right. Question in the comment: what is something you wish you would have known before you started the application process, or something that would have made it easier?
I think I wish I knew like how much I would have to do. Like, I wasn't really familiar with the process until we were sitting at home because of Corona, and it was August, and I had heard that the Common App had opened up, but I didn't even know how to make a Common App account. So you, like, your guidance counselor, they're there for you, but they're not going to do it for you. They're not going to reach out to you and be like, hey, you know, do you need me to do this? You have to be the one who emails your counselor. And, you know, if your counselor is missing your emails, then just go into their, go onto Miss Mitchell's website and click the make an appointment and force them to meet with you and help you and get your transcripts in. So, yeah, like, you really have to take the initiative. And if you kind of let it go, then it's going to snowball and you're not going to get it done because it's all on you.
Definitely opening the Common App as soon as possible and just going through it and seeing what you do need is a plus, because I did not know how much information I had to enter about my family, like sibling names, birth dates, and stuff like that. So everything that included, I had to keep going back to my parents and saying, when were they born? Because I did not know what year. Yeah, so they require a lot of information. So just make sure that you take the time to actually look at each question and, you know, pile them up and then just ask your parents one day so you have them all in one place.
For me, it was mostly also the information. I was very lost at the FAFSA application. I did not know how to fill it out, what was required. I don't know how to file taxes, so I was unsure on how to read the form in order to put in that information for it. I would suggest you join the meetings that Ms. Mitchell has, going through the FAFSA and stuff like that in order to, you know, get a feel for it.
You really don't realize how important the FAFSA is until you're waiting for your financial aid to come back. Like, I know a couple friends had waited to the last minute because their parents weren't able to help them or like a whole bunch of stuff. And then at the end of the day, they basically had to make a decision on a college without knowing what their final figures would even look like. So I think it's very important to start that as soon as you can. I mean, like, if your parents, like my mom was super nice about the whole thing, super helpful, and I just gave her the password and she filled it all out herself the day it came out. Like, if your parents are willing to do that for you, please just hand them the computer, because you don't want to mess up something and then have to go back in 50 different times to fix it and then wait and wait and wait for these new financial aid packages.
And Sydney said something very important, and that's about, you know, you not really knowing how much money you're going to get until you get your letter. And so that goes to support what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, is to make sure that you guys do the net price calculator ahead of time. You're going to do it like now, between now and when school starts, so that you can see actually how much federal aid you will be eligible for. Because if you know ahead of time that you're not going to get any federal aid, then you kind of know how far in the hole you are. And it just makes you more realistic about where you're applying, and it makes you that much more serious about filling out scholarship applications. Because there's a lot of stress, and these guys can tell you what these schools that you really, really want to go to, but the money is funny, right? And your parents really want to send you there, but the price of college is astronomical. And, you know, you can't go on these movies that you see where everybody's parents are sending them to school. That's an old rule. You know, back in the day, parents could put themselves through school, or they had, you know, maybe they had a house for a long time and it was some creative things that they can do with their finances. And the cost of college was not ridiculous. But now you can't put that pressure on your parents. It's, in most cases, it's not their fault that they don't have that money to send you guys to the schools that you want to go to. So if there's certain schools that you want to go to, then you need to get those fingers together and start filling out these scholarship applications, right? All right. What other questions do we have in the chat? Because you guys started answering some of them already. Where can you find the net price calculator thing? I'll drop that in the chat for you. And also, if you guys, I'm going to, for the you who are asking about the net price calculator, I will drop our YouTube video. We did a session on that about a week or two ago. So I'll drop that in the chat for you and you guys can watch that. Johnny said, what are things you did over the summer that were helpful, or things that you wish you would have that could have helped you? Johnny, can you say your answer out loud? Your question out loud? Because I know I didn't read that correctly.
No, it's pretty much what you said. Just like, what's something that you wish you would have done over like this past summer to help you senior year, or what's something that like you did do?
Well, I did what
You know, because,
Maria.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I did what Maria had suggested. I started looking at some schools and then I had a list. So by the time that I sat down to do my Common App, I just typed all those schools in and I had it right there. Definitely start looking at some videos now. I know a lot of their websites have like virtual tours. Even if you can't make it in person, they have virtual ones. Or just look at the different programs and everything like that. Because that definitely helped me when it came time to starting the application.
I would say if you guys are able, the OIC, I know I went on a trip with them back in sophomore year maybe, and we went, it was a spring break trip. I'm sure this isn't going to help you guys now, but they always do stuff like this. They did a spring break trip where we went all down south to visit some of the HBCUs down there. And that kind of stuff, visiting the different colleges, seeing what the OIC has to offer in general, because their programs that they have and the things that they run up there are amazing. Miss Denise really puts the work in for us and really tries to give us those connections with different people with either the background that she's got or what she's learned along the way. And it helps you out a lot and helps you kind of narrow stuff down early.
I don't know what the SAT timeline is, but that would be my first thing. Like, make sure you take that test, and if you know you can do better on it, schedule a retake or try the ACT. I took both, and I wouldn't shoot down the idea of taking both because it worked out for me. But my summer basically consisted of a bunch of virtual tours, which were somewhat helpful to kind of compile a list. It's so much better to go in person, but if you can, in person, virtual's good too. And then I don't know if it's the same this year, but last year it was August 1st that the Common App opened up. So like Janae said, like starting to get your information together for that, look at the Common App essay, because if you're doing the Common App, that's a 650 word essay. So it's really nice to have that, at least a rough draft, under your belt before you go into September, where my idea for like what you guys should focus on in September is like letters of recommendation. And then suddenly you have senior classes and you want to do well in those for college. And then everything else just starts compiling once the year starts. And that's why I think a bunch of seniors like wait to the last minute to do their applications, because they don't realize how busy they are. So yeah, whatever you can start in August, I would start.
And then also just combining what everybody said about timelines. If you guys can get your applications done as early as you can, because you are going to be tired, you can spend the rest of the school year focusing on your scholarship applications. Because as much as people want to do them, the seniors will tell you they're tired. They're really tired, And so I've been harassing them, and people probably ignoring me by now, but there's so much money out there and a lot of local scholarships that are just for Norristown students, and people are just too tired. I'm harassing people. I got a list of phone calls of parents I'm calling today just to make sure these things get done, right? So just again, the common theme here is the earlier the better for everything. Any other questions? Because I know we rolled around to 2:15. We usually finish between, 2 o'clock, 2:15-ish. So most of you guys are still here. I don't know what time the seniors have to go. So if you have to go, I thank you for coming. But if you have time to stick around, some of these other guys have questions and you can answer them, then stick around. But if you do have to go, I thank you guys so much. I pull on you a lot. to help students out. All right. So what other questions do you guys have? So I think they answered everything in the chat either out loud or they typed them in.
Something I don't think we've brought up yet that I wish I knew before junior year ended was about letters of recommendation. So usually you need like 2 to 3, I would say. But you should probably email them out to 3 to 4 people. Definitely get like the extracurricular that you're involved with the most. Get whoever the advisor is for that, someone who's known you for a while and can really speak to you. But you also need like teachers who teach you in the classroom. And usually what the colleges want the most is they want your junior year teachers, because when you're doing these letter of recommendations, which I would recommend doing in September, so you have them in before any type of deadline shows up, because it takes teachers a little bit to do them. You don't know your senior year teachers yet. And it's been a little while since you've had your freshman or sophomore teachers. So you really want to make sure there's at least like 1 or 2 junior year teachers who can speak to your excellence, like, you know, academically and like just as a person in the classroom, or maybe like in the hallways, which I know we don't have as much this year, but just like in general, you want to make sure you have like at least 1 to 2 junior year teachers who can do that for you.
Sydney, what did you mean about read her emails?
No matter what, you always got to read Miss Mitchell's emails. Sometimes they seem like a lot with all the different emails that we get from the school, like Mr. Roth every single day with his lovely songs, and then every other email you might possibly get from Khan Academy to your teachers and everything. You never know what's going to be in those emails, so you should just always open them. I know sometimes I'll sit there and be like, oh, another automated one. And then I open it, I'm like, oh my God, it's actually Miss Mitchell. Like, this is just me. Oh, crap. Like, I should have looked at this earlier. So always open your emails for school, always, no matter who it is, no matter what it is, because you never know what they're saying or what they're trying to sneaky tell you about.
And I think what will be helpful for you guys, because we know you get a lot of junk mail. So start unsubscribing from emails that you get. If you don't want emails from those people anymore, unsubscribe, because you cannot see our emails because you got all this other stuff in there. Unsubscribe or put them, you can block them so that you don't get them anymore. Don't apply to every scholarship. Don't apply to every application that you get that says you're getting a free waiver. That's how some of your lists get so long. And to be honest, you think, oh, they want me. No, they don't. I'm not trying to be rude, but they don't. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make their acceptance rate go lower because they only have so many spaces. And the more applications they receive, it makes their acceptance rate go lower, which makes them look more desirable, right? So don't fill them out unless you get fee waivers anyway. So you get fee waivers for everything. All right. Any last questions? We're going to let these ladies go. Oh, the last thing, Maria just put something in here very important. She said, make an email just for college applications. You want to make a specific email for college applications, and you want to make sure, especially if you and your parents do get along, that you create an email and you guys share it. So if one of you is the slacker and one of you is the one that's really on it, between the two of you, you will see the emails that you need, especially for applications, especially for your financial aid, and especially for your SAT and ACT, because most of that information is not coming to you guys in the mail. And so we'll talk about that a lot. You'll start seeing some ads for the college application crash course. So it's a workshop that I have, and I think all these ladies probably attended, where we get you guys ready for the summer. And so that's going to be on Tuesday, May the 25th. And I'll put something out about it and give you a link next week. And then we'll have 2 more sessions right before you come back to school so we can get you guys ready. All right. So again, I'm going to put my phone number in the chat for those of you who came a little bit later. If you need to reach me over the summer, because I don't check my email a lot. And so if you have something urgent that you need me to talk about, I can at least get back to you. It may be 24 hours before I get back to you. And I'm not texting you back at 10 o'clock at night either, right? But I'll get back to you, okay? And again, we're going to have a surprise party for Miss Side next Wednesday at 1:30. So bring some little comments, you know, and some nice stuff to share with her. All right. So again, I want you guys to thank our fabulous, beautiful seniors for sharing time on a Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon to give you guys some stellar advice. And maybe we'll do this again with another group of seniors in a couple of weeks. All right. All right. So you guys can unmute yourself or drop something in the chat for them. So thank you guys so much.